peace that surpasses all understanding. First, you know what? I simply want to say thank you. You guys are amazing. Really, I'm fucking blown away. And I don't want to call out anybody. I don't want to, you know, draw unnecessary attention to anybody, but there are some just epic people in my life. One of them responded through a WhatsApp message this morning, and there was a nice little 7-minute message. It was awesome. And then another friend of mine did her very first YouTube share, and another one of my friends reached out and shared some perspectives about a recently former boyfriend. Another friend, just and there was another friend had had this funny book, like, what do I do now that I'm dead? It's hilarious, man. I love this stuff. I love you guys. It's fucking great. Thank you for making my life, offering stories and experiences and the richness and the variety and just, wow, you guys. I'm amazed. But the reason I pushed the button to record, I couldn't let that go unsaid. You guys are just amazing. And guys, gals, get my genders right. But the first time, you guys, the first time I realized my power as a guy, and it was a dense experience, man. Whoa, it was dense. It was brutal. It was rough. I'm finding a parking space. Bear with me. Hold on. Well, no, that ain't gonna work either. Wow, you can't even see my face. Ah. Let's try this. Hold on. Keep moving. Just keep swimming. How's that? Is that better? Ooh, there you go. Hey, he's got a face. This experience, the very first time I had a very good inclination about who I was and what I was capable of, and recognizing that my trauma as a child was going to be very, very useful, beneficial, not only to myself but to others, primarily to others. The development of compassion and empathy through my abuse, and feeling and sensing what other people are feeling and sensing. But I'm gonna, this is a disclaimer, here we go again, man. I'm gonna be giving you an example of something, and I'm telling you, as I was recalling this incident, it sounds like a bad fucking porn movie. But this was a real experience in my life. Senior year in high school. So, senior year in high school, if you saw my other shares, senior year in high school, I was involved with, I was 17, 17, 18, and I was involved with an adult woman. And this occurrence happened just before, this one that I'm going to share with you happened just before my mother had found out, my biological mother had found out that I was having a relationship, 16, 17, 18 years old, with a 35, 40-year-old woman. I think she was 38. Her name was Sue. Susan. But senior year, and I don't know what it's like in other parts of the world, but, where I'm from, there would be, like, your senior year was like, yeah, you had to do your schoolwork, but toward the end of the year, as graduation approaches, there was a lot of field trips, senior trips, travel trips, There was one to Italy, and there was one to Bermuda, um, and then there was like these day trip, field trip kinds of things, and there was one of these day trip, field trips that I joined up, I signed up for, and it was a tour bus to Boston, and spend the day in Boston, go out to eat, go shopping, see the sights, maybe go to a baseball game, kind of thing. And being at that point in my life, drugs and alcohol were still very prevalent, and it was a different time. It was a bit of a different time back then. Um, and we're on this senior trip to Boston, and there was a couple of guys that I hung out with or whatever, and you know we're not 10 minutes after we're on the bus, we're pulling out our little flasks. I remember even what I had. It was Marie Brizard blackberry brandy. I had a pint in my coat. Everybody, male, female, it was party time, man. It was party time, and no, we weren't. We were all definitely underage, and there was some weed. People were passing joints around on this bus. It was a party bus, but on this, there was two full buses of senior students, and the bus that I was on, um, each bus had a chaperone, and fortunately, I was going to say fortunately, unfortunately, but this was the moment. This was one of those moments. It was fucking profound. He smokes that cigarette like it's a joint. Cough like a joint, too. Guys are getting to see me at my best. So we're on this bus, and each one of the buses has a chaperone, and fortunately, the bus that I was on had a female chaperone. She was a newer hire, somebody who had just like graduated from college with her doctorate in teaching. So I'm guessing she was, I don't know, how old would that be? 25, 26? Doctorate, doctorate in teaching, not just a bachelor's or a master's. I came to find this information out afterward. Intensely attractive woman. I'm reminded of that song by Van Halen, "Hot for Teacher." She, beautiful woman, and very attractive anyway. Ethnic, and I'll just leave it at that. Ethnic. And so we, all the people, boys, girls. Maybe even the bus driver was getting in on the action. I hope not. But this is where it gets. It's gonna get dense, guys. And again, I said, it's kind of like a bad porn movie. So, this teacher, is our chaperone, and we're partying. And I remember she walked by me, and oh, blackberry brandy, oh, Marie Brizard, and I'm like, yeah. And can I have a sip? Sure, absolutely, whatever. And she started partying with all of us. The person who's in charge of us, the person who's in charge of us, is getting drunk and getting stoned and partying, and somebody had a boom box, a stereo on the bus. We're dancing in the aisles, having a great time. Game on, party time. And as I began to get high, I kind of and I was back in my bus seat, and things got kind of quiet. Things got kind of quiet, and I remember, like, the bathroom door on the bus kept open. You know, I could, you know, every 10 minutes the bathroom door would open and close, and oh, and you'd hear somebody make a noise, you know. But I was kind of high and kind of drunk, and I'm like, you know, what the fuck, you know, whatever. Yeah, we're having a party. But the chaperone, the female chaperone, was nowhere to be seen, and and she was in the bathroom willingly. I must insist it was willingly, because once I finally, you know, like, what the fuck's going on? And I turn around, and sure enough, man, she was engaging with all the boys on the bus. One, you know, going into the restroom on the bus and having sex, and and I was like, oh my god, you know, like, it was fucking surreal, man. And she came out, this one particular, you know, like, she came out, and she was pretty tussled, but now, and I must, you know, now maybe she was acting, you know, but it would have appeared, even in my altered mental state, under the influence of some weed and some drinking, it would have appeared that she was having a good time. And I remember, you know, she came out of the bathroom and, you know, looking a little tussled, and came over and, oh, can I have another hit of the blackberry brandy? And she finished the bottle off. And she started making eyes at me, like, you know, like, oh, you're next. You know, like making the head gesture, and, you know, and I was not inclined to acquiesce to her attempted seduction. Immediately, I felt, and ladies, it wasn't disgust. It was compassion, and it was empathy, and it was a flooding back of, you know, all my experiences as a child. And somebody, and I can't, his name was Mark. He came up from the back of the bus, like, to either, you know, like, you know, I'm trying to be as appropriate, you know, but he approached her as she was standing at my seat, and she had just finished off the blackberry brandy, and he began to get you know, and not overly aggressive, but, you know, somewhat aggressive, like, hey, it's my turn. And the expression on her face went from that of maybe like she had been enjoying it, but she had reached a point where this is not fun anymore. This isn't exciting. This is dense, harsh, and pretty twisted. And I remember Mark, big dude, man. You know, I mean, I'm 5'11", and at the time I was probably 180, 190 pounds, roughly the same I am now. But this guy, he was a big fucker. He was a big dude, and you know, football captain kind of guy, intimidating stature. But it was clear to me in that moment, as her demeanor dramatically changed, like, you know, like that, and she began to cry. I stood up and offered her, because I was sitting in the aisle, I stood up and I offered her the window seat, like, to get her away, to give her some space between her and this guy who was approaching her, and she immediately she immediately took the seat that I offered. She immediately took the seat, and I just stood there and like blocked. I just stood my ground. I just stood my ground, and I blocked him from getting any closer to her. And she like had her head like in a shame based posture, facing out the window kind of, and had her hands up around her face, and there were no words exchanged between that guy and myself. I just stood my ground, and he walked away, and I think he made some. I don't think he did. He made a rude comment to her as he walked away, and I sat down beside her. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't touch her. I didn't, but she was sitting there, and and she's looking out the window of the bus with her hands up like this, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw her head start to turn toward me, and as soon as and I turned to meet, her gaze or whatever, and as soon as that happened, she just started bawling. Just started bawling. It was powerful, and it was powerful, and there were no words spoken. Just saw a guy that I used to work with a long time ago. Sorry. There were no words spoken, but we just, for the remaining part of the trip, I sat with her and didn't say a word. We just sat together, and we arrived in Boston, and she in her seat, she had her purse with her, and she kind of refreshed herself, and went on with the day. I went my way, and basically she ended up staying on the bus. I think she ended up falling asleep on the bus, being intoxicated, being drunk, and that experience. I'm sure. I'm whatever. Anyway, the trip was over. We all get back on the bus, and sure as shit, she's sitting in the same seat. And again, there was no words spoken. And we just went on, and she felt safe. She felt safe. Get back to school the following week, and I had one particular class with her, and it was English. She actually had different, I can't remember, English and history or something, I can't remember, but she was my English teacher. And I remember seeing her in class, and there was a lot of shame. At that point, she couldn't make eye contact with me, whatever. And the following Friday, I was going out, and at the time, we all had fake IDs and whatever, and there was a popular nightclub, and I went out with one of the guys that I knew, and we were at this nightclub. And sure enough, who's there? She was there, and if I was, nothing happened sexually. Quite the contrary. But over the next, probably 2 or 3 months after that meeting, that night in the nightclub, we had some pretty amazing conversations, and it goes back to healing from trauma, and when a woman can feel comfortable in your presence, and she feels safe and protected, and please don't look at, all right, So on some level, I defended her, I protected her on the bus. The only reason I was able to do that is because of my own trauma, and given the example of um, when I had that final encounter with my mother, where I couldn't tolerate abuse in my life, and I couldn't tolerate seeing it happen for someone else. So it's nothing more than that. It's nothing more than that. And it was me standing up to that guy and offering her a safe place. Like, he probably, but perhaps it showed in my eyes, like, you fucking move one more step and I'll have my hands around your neck. You know, um, I could not tolerate being abused, and I couldn't tolerate seeing someone else abused. But over the next several months or whatever, until graduation, I didn't see. I've never seen her again after graduation. But there was definitely something deeply healing for her in that experience of the last few months of high school, where she and I talked quite a bit, and we would see each other out, at a park, or we went out to eat a couple of times. Even though I was in that relationship with that 35-year-old, 40-year-old woman, um, but that was going on simultaneously. Why is this important? Because, yeah, why is it important? Why do I share? It's my intuition, and certain things where I have a very clear picture of a memory or an experience and how something played out. And no, you got to push the button and record this. So that's what I do. That's how it rolls. There's other times where I have, there's intuitive moments, and it has nothing to do with sharing in a video. Maybe in 10 years from now, I'll share that experience. But anyway, the healing that can occur in male-female relationships when there's trust and intimacy, and it was equally healing for me, because it was showing me my power, to stand in my integrity, and to act from a place of my integrity, and to embrace when I had those deep feelings of compassion and empathy, and to see how those aspects of masculine and feminine reside within us, and they come out. And I mean, I certainly didn't know anything about that type of stuff when I was in high school, but in retrospect, I'm like, that is exactly what was going on there. And from her point of view, and then from my point of view, what was going on for me. Maybe that was the first time that she ever felt safe with a guy, and maybe that was the first time that I realized what I could do with my energy, and how healing it can be. I'm gonna go in the grocery store. I gotta put that silly fucking mask on. I'd rather look at my face, not a mask. And again, you guys, man, I love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm blown away by the amount. This is like this last video that I did. I have never had this many responses through, like, via email and stuff like that. And like people strangers, like, whoa. And I'm like, whoa, this is getting interesting. I've been doing videos for what, 2 years, something like that. And this one, like, really, apparently it struck a nerve with a lot of people, and there was a lot of resonance. So I'm very grateful for that. Very grateful for that. Amazing experiences, and I offer you a peace that surpasses all understanding. I'm a smiling fool today, even after sharing that dense story. I'm flying. I'm flying. thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your energies with me and your perspectives and your insights and stories. And oh my God, unbelievable. Peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a glorious day, and enjoy a peace that surpasses all understanding. I'm out.